Okay, hi there again. This is our third special topic for the Building Emotional Understanding class, and it's on curbing aggression. And this is a topic that's interesting to and important, actually vital to every single person in the whole world. It's like we've got a world in which aggression runs amok and in which people have a hard time, working with one another, talking to one another. And when they go off track, people get hurt. People die. And we parents deal with sort of world issues at home in our families every single day. And we hope we have something to contribute here about, what to do when there is aggression going on in your family. Actually, we have a couple resources here. We have two articles about siblings. One is called Sibling Solutions, and one is called When Children Have a Hard Time Sharing. I think there's another siblings article on our website as well, and there's some really more detailed thoughts about aggression and what happens when someone has already gotten hurt, and there are lots of little ins and outs there that in this little 10-minute segment I can't address, but they are addressed. You can find them. Look under siblings and in the section on aggression in our website. But right now, the general idea is that when any child hurts somebody or has, sort of an off-base view of what someone can handle, when children come in for a hug and they squeeze so tight that the other child begins to cry, there's fear that's driving the behavior. That aggression is really a sign that the child is frightened in a situation. They don't look frightened, they don't act frightened, but the aggression is a sign that the fear is kind of leaping up and just driving impulsive behavior that isn't tuned in to other people and the needs and the wants and the position of other people. So to help children release the fears that they have, what you want to do is, first of all, definitely use special time. It's like children who are having trouble controlling themselves and controlling their power need a sense of connection, and they need it to be frequent. It's like a frightened child loses their sense of connection very, very quickly. The more scared they are, the more tenuous that sense of safety is, and the more on guard and ready to be impulsive they are. So if you have a child who's really having trouble with aggression, they need to connect with you often. And they need you to shut off the ways in which that fear gets ticked off or reinforced. So if there's yelling in the family, then maybe the first thing to do is to really try to find a way to resource yourself, to get more help in, to get listening time, to find some way for the dad who's coming home angry to be able to go to the gym or get an hour to himself before he gets home, and see if that helps. It's like trying to figure out ways to shut off the frightening incidents coming in, and very much including TV, video games, and videos. It's like there's a lot of scary stuff that looks like it's built for children, but really triggers a frightened child's fear sensors easily. So you might try, if you've got a child who's being aggressive, you might try just keeping the TV off, listening to them cry about how much they want, a video rather than giving them the video, because then, they'll be doing real things. There's something about media that in a frightened child seem to trigger the fears and make them active in the child's behavior. And so even a frightened child, if they're kept separate from media, often they have a more relaxed time of it. It doesn't solve the whole problem, but at least they're not getting re-stimulated every day by what they're watching. So special time to connect. And you might really figure out a real connection plan. So 5 minutes of special time on getting up, and 5 minutes of special time before they need to say goodbye, which might bring a big cry upon saying goodbye, which would be a good thing. So use special time, and in conjunction with it, stay listening when special time has made it safe enough for the child to work on whatever the issues are underneath that might be tied in with this fear. You want to really pay attention to goodbyes. It's like oftentimes children who are aggressive at school are children who are really desperate because there was a time when they couldn't feel somebody there. And goodbyes are a time when it's clear to children that someone is not going to be there, that their desired person, mommy or daddy, is not going to be there. And they can open up that vulnerable place and heal some of the fear back there by crying and reaching for you and desperately wanting you and desperately not wanting you to go. So when I'm in a childcare situation and there's a child who is bullying or pushing or being impulsive, I try to get the parent to come in and do 10 minutes of special time before they go in the morning. And after 2 or 3 days, a child often will begin crying about not wanting mommy to go or not wanting daddy to go. And then I can move in and ask the parent to listen for 5 minutes about their child's feelings about not wanting them to go before they actually have to go. And if the child can get a good 10 minutes of crying in before they're, with me, as the parent says goodbye, oftentimes they can keep going. And you can, even in a childcare situation, if you are, a staff person who understands this, you can put a child on your hip and they can keep on crying while you hand out snack or, be with other children. It's like it doesn't take total one-on-one 100% attention to allow a child to keep working once they've gotten started, but you have to kind of give it a good 5 or 10 minutes of peaceful, serene, yeah, mommy's always coming back, before they can grab onto that great big feeling and really work on it until they're finished. You want to do friendly patrol. It's like if your child is aggressive, the thing that doesn't work in your favor is to go, oh, here we are in the sandbox again. He usually grabs other kids' sand toys, but I hope that doesn't happen today. I really hope it doesn't happen today. And go sit on a bench way over here. It's like if your child has done this 5 times before, the smarter thing to do is to drop the hope that it won't happen and to get in the sandbox with them. So you're right there. And you're not going, now honey, don't grab anybody's toys. We're going to be nice today, okay? You promised to be nice today, so don't grab any toys. I'm right here to make sure you don't. You don't want to do that. You want your child to be able to enjoy the sandbox. So you climb in the sandbox with them and you just sit here and watch. And you keep a really good eye on your child's face, And when your child's face, and often this happens, it can take a few times of practice before you see it coming, because it's very fast. A child is there and things are fine, and all of a sudden they lose it and they're ready to grab. And what you want to do is reach out and try to catch that hand before it lands on somebody else's toy. And you just go, no, can't let you do that. And your child will be very uncomfortable. They won't like it. I'm too hot. I'm too hot. Don't do that. You're hurting me. And they'll begin working on whatever it is underneath there that's scary. And oftentimes it's, you're hurting me, and I don't know exactly why that is. It's like you have your hand on their tummy and you have your hand on their back, and all of a sudden they're yelling at the top of their lungs, you're hurting me, you're hurting me. And I think it's because the incidents they're working on has to do with being hurt. It's like every child, if they're born in a hospital in the United States, they are being pricked when they're born. They might be being circumcised when they're born. It might be that coming through the birth canal was kind of painful and scratchy and not very fun at all. And as soon as you move in, they're interpreting reality to include hurt. And you may not know the reason for that at all, but I always assume there's a reason. There's a reason a child says you're hurting me when you're just, keeping them from kicking sand, or you're just slowly pulling them over onto your lap. So you just listen to what comes out, you make sure that you're not hurting, but just because they say they're hurting you doesn't mean you have done something wrong. It means your child has reached down deep and fast, and now they're working on a moment of fear, and they're telling you what they would have said back then if they could have. You stop the aggressive behavior every time you can, and if your child is consistently aggressive in certain situations, you either do friendly patrol or you don't go into those situations for a while until you can get some play listening in, some special time in, some really nice big stay listening sessions, which will ease a child's aggression and help them be more relaxed in the world. I'm trying to think of a good anecdote, a quick one. There's a little boy early on, when actually in my very first class, there was a mom who came to one of my very first classes she was very isolated when her child was born. She was a single mom, she was a nurse, and she was so isolated that she didn't know anybody to take care of her baby, and she worked night shift. So she told us very tentatively that she had left her baby home alone all night long after he was 2 weeks old, so that she could work, make the money she needed, and she'd come back home, and of course the baby's like crying and crying and crying. So there had been real neglect in this child's life, and he was scared out of his mind. So by the time she got to our class, he'd been kicked out of 4 different preschools for really severe aggression. And we had her read, Reaching for Your Angry Child. We started listening to her. All of that, went well. And one time she reached in and listened to him for 45 minutes while he kicked and screamed and cried. And when he was finished, he looked at her and he said, "Mommy, I don't know why I hurt other kids. I wish I didn't. I really want to play with them." And he'd never said anything like that in his whole life. And she very worriedly took him to a birthday party the next day, and he had never done well at birthday parties. He had always, grabbed a toy, ripped a present, just gone wild. She said he was a great kid during that birthday party. She was so amazed. He played fine with the kids, he had fun. There was just no sign of this behavior, which was really pasted all over him for about a year at that point. So these tools are very powerful tools, and I hope you enjoy the fruits of using them well.